I'm Dion again.
And I'm Lainey.
Thank y'all for coming back for episode 2 of In the Mourning.
Yes.
Last episode, we left y'all with the word twins. So now we're going to talk all about that.
So yeah, February 4th was the appointment, and I was super excited about this appointment because I hadn't had an actual ultrasound since I was 7 weeks. All the other appointments were just hearing the heartbeat on the outside. So they were just use
sonogram.
Is it called sonogram?
Yeah, I think so. Doppler, sonogram.
There you go, Doppler. They would just use the Doppler on my belly and hear the heartbeat. And they were only, focusing on just the bottom part of my belly. I'm picking up from where we left off. The young lady put the wand on my belly and she's going back and forth. And I can see that her face is looking kind of, her expression changed. And then she looks at me and says, "Twins?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" It's like, "Ma'am, can you please, sit me up? I need to call my husband." And she was like, "Sure, we can pause." And so she kind of, helps me wipe my belly off a bit. And I called Dion, and I'm bawling. I am crying. And now thinking back, I'm like, he probably thought something was wrong because of how I was crying when I called him.
No, I mean, I was going to mention that if you didn't, that, I could tell by the way that she was crying that it was the happy tears or, a joyful cry.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think that. I mean, I think you think, oh, okay, it's a possibility, but we never really, even though we had mentioned that your stomach was bigger,
mm-hmm.
And we had talked about twins in the past, I don't think for this particular instance
we thought it was.
We were thinking that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I knew something. I didn't think it was anything bad just because how she sounded. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if we mentioned this last time, but this hospital, they don't allow small children. I don't think they allow anyone under 18, actually. Dion had Bailey and Khalees while, I get through the appointment. And so I call him and I let him know that it's twins. I just kept saying, it's twins, it's twins, it's twins. And he was like, "Are you serious? Oh my God." He was just so excited.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind, I guess, when I told you that?
When, I mean, so I had Khalees with me. I think Bailey wasn't with us that time, but
she was.
She was? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was holding her because we were just walking around, kind of hanging out, and she had fallen asleep. And so I was holding her when she called, when Lainey called and told me, and I yelled, like, "Are you serious?" And she woke up, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm sleeping. And I was just, I was in a just shocked, grateful, amazed.
Everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It was one of the most, one of the biggest surprise moments of my life.
Absolutely. Same for
and
me.
I couldn't have, it was just pure excitement, joy, for that news.
Yeah. So, we get through the rest of the appointment. Obviously, it ran a lot longer because she had to check 2 babies. And they both looked great, both strong heartbeats, both growing at a great rate and everything. So they told us that we were having, after she did her part, she brought in a doctor, and I could hear the doctor chuckling outside when she told her she didn't know she was having twins until right now. And I was 20 weeks pregnant, by the way. So get through half of the pregnancy thinking that it's just 1 baby and it's actually 2. So I can hear him kind of chuckling in the hallway. So he comes in and he's still kind of chuckling. And he was like, "I heard you had, a big surprise." And I was like, "Yeah, I would not have put this on my bingo card for today," thinking that we're going to get this news. But he looked at the babies as well. And he said, the girls both look good. And yes, they were both girls. He told us that they were monodi twins. And I'll put the actual whole name on there. But they're monodiad twins, meaning they're in two different sacs, and they share one placenta.
So it means that they were identical
twin girls, yes.
So from, and I'm no biology major, so correct me in the comments, but that's when one sperm fertilizes one egg, and they split into two. The crazy thing about it, I guess, not really crazy, but like, I'm a twin. I have a twin sister. Obviously, we're not identical. Thank goodness for her. But shout out to my twin, Desiree. Love you, sis. And so in our family, in our immediate family, first, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, first cousins, there's no twins. I think we have one from a cousin, then their kids.
Right.
But, that, I guess, that immediate family.
Immediate family, yeah.
There are no twins, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's gonna have twins? Who's gonna have twins?"
Yeah, I know. My mom is like, somebody has to have twins. Nobody. It's been a while since someone has had twins.
Yeah.
And she always would say, Lise, it gotta be you. It gotta be you. And I'm like, Mom, no. And every time my Aunt Gwen, a few other people, had expressed that they thought I was having twins, and I told them like, no, it's just one baby.
Same thing with my mom. And
yeah.
After we told her, she's like, I knew it. Like, you knew it. Did you really know it, Mama? I believe you. I love you, Mama. And so that day, I think I can't remember if I had to go back to work. Did I have to go back to work? I don't know.
You did.
So yeah, I went back to work, and like if you were a random person on the street, in the elevator, in the lobby of the building I work with, I was telling you, you want to hear something crazy? Guess what? I'm an attorney, and so I had a hearing or some kind of meeting with my client, and I know I told all of them.
Yeah.
I had various hearings in front of judges and other. If I talk to you,
you knew.
And
you were going to know
I told you about this, and maybe we're getting a little bit ahead, but one of the things that was just did my heart well, I think did our heart well, was that everyone was, one, surprised. Mm-hmm. They're like, no way. Literally, I think no way was the typical response.
The phrase.
But then after that, it was like, we are so excited for you guys.
Yes. So many people. We actually, y'all are going to hear our babies in the background, okay?
They're all right.
It's okay. But, we made a post on Facebook. I think I was about 22 weeks pregnant. So I thought, it would be kind of safe to go ahead and share with the world. And, under that post is so many people, so many family, friends, or just people who, just regular Facebook friend that you don't really have any type of connection with.
Yeah, that friend you had, that person you hadn't seen in 10 years.
10, 15 years, right.
They asked to be a friend.
Right. Everybody was so excited and shared their, excitement with us. And like, you guys, if it's anybody, if it could happen to anybody, it's a great thing that it happened for you guys.
Yeah, like I couldn't deal with it, but
right.
I'm glad you guys are happy about it, and we're praying for you and wishing you all the best.
Right.
So let's go back to the reaction from friends and general public and the total strangers that I told at the grocery store or where have you. It was great. So when we told our kids, right? Because I didn't, even though I was yelling, I don't think, of course, Khaleesi didn't understand and Bailey didn't understand. And then when we got home that night, we told the kids, we sat them down, like, guess what? And so we had an appointment today, and we discovered something else. And so they're kind of looking like, what are you talking about? And so I told them, Mommy has 2 babies in her belly. And they were like, oh my goodness. Now our son, he said, is the other one a boy, perhaps? And we're like, no, it's another girl. So you're going to have another sister. You're going to have 4 sisters. 4. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of sisters. And so we were, just looking at the family. She comes from a family with two girls, one boy. Um, and in my household, I have an older sister, house sister in my household. It was me and my twin, and I have a younger sister. So, both of us grew up in a household.
Yeah,
with
that
two
same
girls,
dynamic. 2 girls, one boy.
Mm-hmm. And so that's, how we were after Khalees. 2 girls, one boy. So we're like, hey, this is, kind of symmetric. Not symmetric, but, serendipitous or what have you. And guys, fellas, when I sat down and calmed down for a minute, I was like, I'm gonna have 4 girls, 4 daughters. I was like, oh my goodness. And then we were talking about like, I gotta learn how to do hair now because she no way she's gonna be able to do
4 heads.
5.
Well, 6.
Junior got her head and all the kids. Junior got a head full of hair too. She don't have to worry about mine. But then, and so that I think that's the next thing. After the shock of finding it out, then we started thinking about everything that would come with it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So we started talking about like, should we move? Should we get a bigger house? Should we get a bigger vehicle? I mean, we have 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, I mean, we had for the 5 of us. We were like, yeah, we got enough space.
Right.
We got a big SUV already. I have a smaller sports car, and I was like, man, I might have to get that up because we're gonna be toting these kids, toting these kids back and forth. And then we were thinking about the logistics of it, right? Because we would have what we were saying, 3 under 3 or 2 under or 3 under 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Or for a hot minute. Yeah, because
Khalees wouldn't turn. She will be 2 in October.
So, and I think we mentioned last time that Khalees she was not a good sleeper when she was a baby.
Yeah. So
I have it, and we were playing like these twins better be great sleepers.
Yes. So I don't know if we said this last time, but our due date was supposed to be in June. My original due date, when we thought it was just a singleton, was June 23rd. But with twins, anybody else who's had twins, that they typically don't want you to go the whole 40 weeks. And so, especially with identical twins, because for some reason they can have certain complications that fraternal twins usually don't have. So they wanted to have me have the twins 3 weeks early at 37 weeks. So, we're just kind of getting our minds ready for that. And like, I don't think the shock ever totally wore off. I'm still shocked.
You can tell we're kind of all scattered when we're telling the story because that's how we were after this news came out. I don't think there was a conversation that we had that a day went by that we were like, hey, you realize we're going to have twins and we're going to have 5 kids.
5 kids.
I don't think there was a day that passed that we didn't like, wow.
Yeah. And, we never talked about having a big family. Again, the other episode we talked about, we were content with the 2 for quite a while. Yeah. And then when we welcomed Khalees, it was like, oh, this is great too. Like having 3 kids is awesome. But we never fathomed having more than that. So
when she got pregnant and when we thought it was 1, we're like, all right, 4. And then, but so if this is how I would say, it's like if someone tell you they got 2 kids, all right, yeah, you got 2 kids, like okay. Someone tell you got 3 kids, okay, you got your hands full. If someone says you got 4, like hey, you've been busy, right? If someone tells you they got 5 kids or more, like hey man, like,
what y'all got going on?
Y'all got a lot of kids. Y'all got a boatload.
I would say this, my cousin Ray, when he saw the news, and this was funny to me. He was like, "You and Dion need to sleep with jeans." No. Sleep with jeans because y'all doing the most. 5 kids, but yeah, like.
And I'll say this: through all of the excitement, there was never a time where I was nervous in a way like, oh, we can't do this.
Yeah,
it was excitement. It was nervous. There was nervousness there, but it was like that anticipation that when you're getting ready to do something that you've been waiting for. You're going to enjoy, and you're nervous and anxious just to get there, to be able to experience. It was not like, oh my gosh. Well, because I think we talked last time how I used to think it was like financial, like, man, how am I going to handle all these kids? Hey, I accepted the fact after having Bailey, because that girl, I tell you, she does not have cheap taste, right?
No,
she doesn't. No, she doesn't.
No.
So steakhouses and all that kind of stuff for her birthday, those are kind of her thing, right? And then having Khalees, I figured she was going to fall right in line. So I was like, I'm going to have to be working for the rest of my life to support these young ladies. But I'm fine with that. That's what Daddy does.
Yes.
And so when we had 2 more, I was like, yeah, I'm. So I was like,
let me ever retire?
Yeah. But I wasn't mad at it at all. I was like, yeah,
this is awesome. Like I when we look, kept thinking about like this is so cool. Like this is going to be so awesome. So now that I'm getting emotional, not in a bad way, and we wanted to tell you guys this too. Like grief and mourning is so up and down, and we can laugh and chuckle at talking about the story again, thinking about like the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of get almost like punched with a bit of, sadness.
No, that it comes in waves, it hits you. You'll be at this point and this high when you're thinking about, I mean, when we talk about when we found out, I think we can feel the joy.
Yes.
Like we can feel the joy
yes.
in the room. I can see the joy in her eyes. She can see the excitement in my eyes when we talk about it. When the kids, they still talk about it.
Yes.
They mention it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And, it's always like, oh, how excited we were for our sisters. And I think when that wave comes crashing and hits you is when, you realize you don't have them here.
Yeah.
But, for this episode, we wanted to focus on that time leading up for them. But I don't want to, let the moment pass or, not be true to what,
we're feeling in the moment.
But it is something because the whole scenario, the whole situation, from finding out we were having the twins, from having Khalees to then getting pregnant again, mm-hmm. and finding out we were having twins, to even this moment now, all feels like a blur.
Yeah.
Time doesn't stop. The world doesn't stop spinning. Your bills are still due. The kids still have school and homework. All those things, none of that stops.
None of it stops.
And so you still have to deal with everything that happened while you're still dealing with mm-hmm. everything you have to do. And so sometimes when we get a moment to reminisce or think back, it's really helpful.
It is.
Even if it does then come with, that bit of sadness with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's good, baby.
So I think after that Facebook post, and I remember, looking back at it, some of the comments were like, I ain't never seen Dion. I know Dion had that many teeth in his mouth because I was smiling so big. And yes. Like I said, I think just since that moment we found out, it was something that we wanted to share with everyone in a way that, hoping that it brought them some kind of joy, if not even a laugh, to say, like,
yeah, I got a bunch of kids over there.
And so I think we got into started doing more of the planning and like, I remember one time we were in the car, like, all right, how are we going to position the car seats?
Yes. So we have an expedition, and it's a 7-seater. I think it's 3 in the very back, then 2, then the passenger and the driver.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So it's 7-seater. So we're like, okay, well, I'll sit in the far back with the 2 car seats, and Khalees will be in the same spot that she's in. Bailey will be in the same spot that she's in. And Junior will be in the front. And, of course, Daddy will drive.
So, you got to map this all out.
Map it all out.
And then we were talking about, well, if we stay in the house, because the baby was still sleeping in our room. She has a little corner of the room that's designated for her. Like, we got to kick her out. She'll have her
possibly put her with Bailey.
Well, yeah, but we didn't want to put that on there.
Yeah, so we're like,
they put her,
and definitely Junior is like, no. So either Bailey,
he volunteered for it, but like,
yeah,
you don't
you don't have to do that. And so we do have a spare bedroom for guests when we, have guests over or whatever. So we're like, okay, well, we'll convert that into Khalees's room, and then the twins will be in our room because we have plenty of space. So we were, I had actually started a registry, put the double strokes and the double bassinets
and then she showed me this double baby carrier. I'm like, that thing looked
one
like
on the front and one on the
But I won't knock baby carriers. I did with our son. I was like, that's whack.
Yeah.
And then I put one on with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, we still that picture pops up every now and then. Mm-hmm. Me carrying him, and then after that, I was like, they're a necessity.
Babies, yeah.
Yeah, you can have hands free, but still have the baby right next to you. So I was like, when she showed me, I was like, initially like, what? And then I was like, I might have to figure out how to do that.
Sense, yeah.
And then, I mean, you were even talking about how you're going to nurse.
Yeah, because I've nursed all Bailey, Khalees, and Junior exclusively. So I'm like, well, how am I going to do this with twins? Do you kind of, do them all at the same time? Do you do both at the same time? Do you nurse one at a time? Do you kind of if you do one at a time, do you kind of switch off because you don't want to keep feeding the one first every single time? I was just thinking about all that, y'all.
And I was like, you remember that? I think it was Meet the Fockers. And it was Meet the Fockers, and Robert De Niro's character had like a fake boob that he used to. Like, we might even have to do that.
No. But, and we even thought about possibly of me nursing, possibly if it was too much on me that I could just pump and feed them that way as well. So it was just so many thoughts running through our head for those first few weeks.
I mean, as far as, we were talking about a nanny or somebody just to come in to, give Laney a hand. Of course, I'll do my best, but I mean, it's a lot. You got, like I said, Khalees will be in the toddler stage, and anyone who has a toddler has had a toddler. That's a full-time job in and of itself. And then, so dealing with two twins, dealing with all the appointments that they're going to have, and just the kids are in school. I mean, junior school, like
30 minutes away.
30 minutes away, across town, and Bailey has cheer, and they're going out of town every month for competition. Month, yeah. So, but we knew it was going to be crazy.
We knew it was going to be chaotic, but we welcomed that.
Looking forward to it.
We so wanted it. Like, we thought about, like, this is going to be chaos in here, but like a beautiful chaos. Like, I wanted to feel all the things that comes with having that many kids. Yeah. So
like, I can't remember what show it was. It was one show where like it's like you walked in the house at your own peril. Like there was somebody was running over here, somebody swinging from a chandelier, someone's doing whatever. I was like, yeah, that's gonna be us. And people, y'all can come over. We ain't picking up. Y'all, this is us. This is y'all take it, take it or leave it. And so, I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was just fun when we would sit down and just think about
different scenarios. Yeah, how it was going to be.
And so, so then we started thinking names. Because when we thought it was one, we knew what the name was going to be if it was boy. We've been holding on to Langston.
We've been holding on for Langston for a while.
So shout out to any Langston.
I don't know. I love that name. Langston Hughes is why I love the name so much, because I love to read, if you didn't know. But anyways, so yeah, we held on to Langston, but I think December is when we found out it was girl, so we had to let Langston go. And so we, again, if you looked at episode 1, we had a time with Khalees. We could not figure out a name, and so same thing with this baby. We could not figure out a name, and then when we found out it was 2, we really was like, okay,
yeah,
what are we going to do? Because if you don't know, our girls in particular, Junior is named after Dion, so that was, not I guess a no brainer. With Bailey, Dion held on to that name before we even had kids had kids at all, right?
yeah.
He worked at a youth center many years ago, and it was a young little girl. Her name was Bailey, and she was just the sweetest thing ever. He said, like, if we ever have a daughter, her name will be Bailey. Like, that was what, 2000.
That was well before we
2007,
before we went to Japan. So
yeah, so it was a long time ago. So he held on to that name. So when we found out, that our second child was a daughter, okay, Bailey. But our daughters have two middle names. So we were even thinking about that. We couldn't even get it together for the first name. So thinking of two middle names as well for twins.
yeah,
that was a lot.
and so I think we had thrown around some names, but nothing really stuck. Mm-hmm. And I'm very particular. She says I don't agree with any of the names that she picks.
Every time I would send him a name, he was like, "No, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that." And I'm like, "Come on, man!"
But I mean, honestly, I couldn't think of anything. I was like, well, people like, well, you want those rhymey twin names, or you want those like twin names that, like match or so, like May and April or something like that.
No, not May, April. I wanted like harmony and melody.
There we go. Something
and like he was like, "No, I don't like that." I was like, "I love harmony and melody, or lyric, or something like that, kind of like meshed together." But anyways, we just couldn't get it together for a name. So
one day, you were like, she texted me. She was like, "Hear me out. I thought a lot about this one." And she was like, Nolani and Leilani. I was like, okay. And then she was like, I got more. So for Nolani, because it means heavenly mist, her middle name would be Serenity Rain. I was like, girl, you thinking. And she said for Leilani, because Leilani means heavenly flower, her middle names would be Soraya Rose. And I couldn't even hate. I was like, girl, you did your thing with those names.
And how they connect. Flowers need water. They need rain. So they will always be connected, even with their names.
And then to the Serenity part, because after we had the ultrasound, the first one, they mentioned that baby B, because when you have multiples, it's baby A, baby B, and then down the line, if you have more, it said baby A was active.
Yes.
Baby A was all over the place, moving, and baby B was very calm, very still. And so we were like, that's Nolani.
Yeah, that's Nolani.
She's baby B, and Serenity Rain, like calming rain was what we thought about her. Yes. And then for our sister Leilani, she was the blooming flower. Yes. And so I was like, after that, that's what it was. Yeah. So we were looking forward to our twin girls, Nolani and Leilani. And so we went to another ultrasound, and I was able to go with her this time. And I think they measured.
Yes, they measured at 22 weeks. Yeah. Because when you're pregnant with multiples, you consider high risk. I was high risk already anyways, but with multiples, you're really high risk. And so we had to have appointments every 2 weeks to check the girls. And I didn't mention before, but one of the things that the doctor had told us that, that we needed to, I guess, be made aware of is that monodi twins, again, they have separate sacs but share a placenta. One of the things, I guess, to look out for is something called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome.
Yeah. And so, actually, they told us after the first, when we first found out.
Yes.
But the doctor, I didn't mention this. So because I couldn't be there when she called me and told me it was twins, we spoke for a moment, and then I let her get back and let the nurse and the doctor do everything. And then I said, hey, call me when the doctor comes in. So she called me, and I spoke to the doctor. And, he was telling me all these things and telling us all these things and talking about everything looks good, the concerns are this, concerns are that. And, one of the main things you look at is twin to twin transfusion syndrome, is where the arteries and veins that are in the placenta sometimes fuse and it shunts fluid from one twin to the other.
Right.
So essentially, possibly, causing one twin to lose fluids and one twin to gain more fluids than they need. Mm-hmm. But he said, hey, we looked at everything and there's no indication of that. Yeah. And so we got that news, but it didn't concern us.
It never concerned us. We prayed over it, prayed about it. But it was never, because it's so rare. Also, we were like, okay, this wouldn't happen to us. We didn't think it would happen to us.
Yeah, and we didn't. It was not as just dismissing it outright. Sure. But we had a sense of, we felt that this is God placed this on us for a reason, and this was His blessing for us, and so we were moving forward with that joy, that that thought that this is what we were destined to do as parents, and so we would pray against it. We take all the precautions. I said, hey, baby, you can go home, kick up your feet. Like I said, we can get someone come clean, cook, and whatever. If I'll get in there and burn some food if I got to.
No, you're a decent cook.
Yeah, thank you.
You are.
So it wasn't something that we were on pins and needles about at all.
Right.
And speaking of rare, I mean, just identical twins, just twins in general are rare. According to whatever statistics, I think it's less than 5%, 2% or something like that of all births worldwide are twins, identical or fraternal, or multiples of that, and then identical twins is maybe 1% of all births or something rare. Because we looked up all the statistics, like how normal is this to happen?
Yeah.
Right, and so we were like, this is a 1 in a million kind of thing,
And also, we didn't say, how was it missed? Because in my 7th week appointment, it literally just showed one baby, y'all, one heartbeat and everything. So
I went back and studied that ultrasound. I'm like, and it wasn't the best quality. It was kind of a little grainy, but it looked like a little jelly bean and something like that. And I'm turning in and looking at like, it's one. It's one.
Yeah.
And so so she mentioned we had genetic testing done, right?
Yeah.
So they checked for, some of the early chromosomal things and all the kind of stuff.
And then also, I told you guys the last episode that it also shows the sex of the baby.
Yeah.
And it just said girl, just one girl.
So I'm like, how?
I don't know. So for our appointment in February, after we found out that it was twins, I went back to look at
we were
my
asking, like,
emails, because I was like, how did we miss this? I went back to look at my emails and saw that toward the end of January, they had updated the genetic testing. And lo and behold, when I opened it in February, it said identical twin girls.
Yeah. And so, because the thought was like, how did this get missed when we did genetic testing? I was like, that testing needs to be tested, right? Okay. But because they're identical twins, for the most part, genetically, they're the same. They're identical. And so I think, this is what my thought was like, that they saw it. They was like, yeah, this seems like excessive, but it's showing girl, all kind of stuff like that. And then somebody went back and said, yeah, the reason why it's X is because it's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Right? But we didn't even see that before the ultrasound in February. So when we get through this, we hear all of this, but once again, we're still just optimistic and, praying for all things good, not having a spirit of fear at all with this pregnancy. Right. So we start getting closer or further along in the pregnancy, right? right? And so I and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like, because pregnancy has been been hard, been difficult for Lainey. Of course, I can't ever fully relate, but being there to support her. But I felt like after that ultrasound, after we found out it was twins, I mean, it just felt like, I don't know, like the every day was an adventure. Every day was exciting, even with the pregnancy, because you got over the morning sickness and everything like that. So now you were just like every
just
day
growing, just big and hungry. But man, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. All of the changes to my body, with every pregnancy, ladies, your body is changing drastically, seems week by week. And I was like, welcoming those different changes. And um yeah, so I think before we got sidetracked, we were talking about our 22 week, my appointment at 22 weeks.
Oh yes, that's right. Thank you, babe. So yeah, so I went with her, and so we were talking about them being identical, and so they measured them. They measured their heart rate. They measured their lengths. All the different, and everything was identical. Mm-hmm. I was like,
they were so
amazing.
Yeah, so amazing, so right? Amazing. Because usually one twin is a little bit bigger or whatever, but they were just kind of like in sync, like so. Yeah.
And so we talked to the doctor again, talked to him about the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome or any issues. There was one other issue, I think, with Nolani, baby B. There was like a little spot in the heart, and there was like there's precursors for that. But once again, we prayed against that, and then
the little blimp in her heart, Khalees actually had that same thing, and it just went away on its own. So we weren't really concerned when they saw that on Nolani's heart, excuse me. So, we figured it'll be the same as with Khalees. It'll just kind of go away on its own.
And then he said there was no signs of the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. And so, yeah, I mean, 22 weeks were looking good and, just kind of counting down the days. And it at 22 weeks, you still got a lot of pregnancy left.
Yeah.
Ladies, y'all know this. So, but I don't know. It felt like everything was in slow mo, but in fast and 2 times speed, if you will, at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like everything was just coming at us so quickly. And I give us credit. We were just dealing with it and taking it in stride. And so we got out that appointment. We set up the next one. And then we were just living life.
Yeah. And I didn't mention this, but the hospital where I was seen at for Khalees, I went back to that one to be seen for the twins. However, for my seventh week appointment, they had mentioned just randomly, if you are pregnant with twins, we can't see you because we don't have the manpower, the capabilities, the whatever to handle multiples. So I'm like, okay, cool. They did the ultrasound. It was just one. So I was like, okay, cool. So once we found out that it was in fact twins, I had to call them, let them know I can't, actually pregnant with twins, guys. You missed it for all this time. So I'm going to have to be seen somewhere else. So I was also transitioning to go to another OBGYN. So I was seen at 23 weeks. And then again at 24 weeks, at the very beginning of my 24th week, at my new OBGYN as well. So it was a lot going on. And for those 4 weeks, man, it was hectic, but it was so good. Like it was so wanted.
And you mentioned it now, and I know we talked about it before, but it seems like I was saying, everything was going fast and slow together because it seemed like it was way more than 4 weeks that we were living with that, anticipation of twin girls. But I mean, as we talked about, this podcast is talking about us dealing with the loss of Nolani and Leilani. So at 24 weeks, she goes in for an ultrasound, and once again, I'm not there with her this time. Um, I took our daughters. Again, we went out to eat and took them for lunch. You know, it's kind of the thing we would do, just because she couldn't take them in there with her, and I wanted to, spend some dad time with my girls, and so we're out to eat at a local restaurant, and I get, I actually, I was taking the girls to get ice cream. We are standing in the ice cream shop, and had just ordered, a scoop of this or whatever, and I get a phone call from Lainey, and I told y'all how when she called to tell me it was twins, I could tell in her voice that it was joy. When she called me this time, and she didn't, I mean, it just came through the phone. She didn't have to say a word, um, but she was crying. And unfortunately, that started a series of events that really changed our life in a way that, you know, we really still can't find the words to explain. But we're going to do so in our next episode. So we ask that y'all come back and join us. We're going to take you through what happened after March 6th. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, guys. See you.